And hello once again, friends. Jersey Joe here, Eye on the Box, another powerful edition of The Brew. We're talking about, you love to talk about food, but something you guys also love to talk about, money. Who doesn't love money? Well, here's a question we put on social media this week for debate. How much money do you think the government should give you in the next stimulus check? Everybody's supposed to be getting it if you make $100,000 or less, if they actually can figure it out. I know there's an argument between Democrats and Republicans. The initial goal was to give you $1,200, but of course, well, the feds can't agree. That's kind of deadlocked right now, so we'll see if we even get a check. But how much would you expect to see in one? Got your answers coming up here in just a second. There's Joel over there. Joel, live in Vegas. How much money would you like to see in the next check from the government?
It doesn't necessarily, for me, need to be a dollar amount, because like that $1,200 means something totally different for someone in New York as it does in someone in Bumbleville, Alabama. So it's a huge difference about how much that pays for. But I think that the number needs to be enough for each community for someone to pay rent, have food, and health care for the time that we're in this shit storm and everybody's out of work.
You totally stole my answer, because the last check that we got here in the New York City metropolitan area absolutely does not go as far as people that live, say, in Texarkana or, out in the plains where your cost of rent and cost of living is cheap, whereas the stimulus check we get here doesn't even really help with my rent if I would lose, my employment. So that's the tough situation. So my answer would be, I think it needs to be proportionate, just like you said, to where you live. I know that's a really hard thing to say because it will never be fair to do it that way. And until you judge, and then this city will say, well, I pay this, I pay that. So that's a whole mess in itself, but I think they need to figure out a way to work that out.
They have to. We just have to be honest with percentages. It needs to be enough for people to have the bare necessities to get through it. That's all.
But I mean, even the feds right now can't even agree on what to do for the next check, and it's deadlocked. In fact, the bill's pretty much dead because they can't come together and agree on that. Well, I'm sure once the election day comes up and everybody, maybe I should do something, they'll vote for me. Maybe that'll change it. Politics, politicians, they'll pretty much do anything to skew it so they can get voted back in.
Right. So let's get some of those comments.
Lots of your comments on this one. A lot of interesting dollar values, too, so let's get to it. NJ Leakster, how much does he want? He wants same as the last time. That works. Courtney comments, he wants paid in Mad Money comedy. Mike F325, about 10% in the gold price. Even better leverage in mining shares. Aaron Fleck, he wants $1 million. Somebody's been watching Austin Powers. And Mr. Pizarro, Warlock Weirdo, Jersey Joe lifestyle money, and sends a guy jumping into a pool full of cash. You don't want Jersey Joe style lifestyle money, because like I said, the checks here will not cover my rent, so you don't want that.
Right.
And more of your comments. Michael Sean Flaherty, he says 0.0, they will want it back. Well, I mean, that's the other question, though. I mean, he wants nothing, but then he wants a check. So what does that mean? And then I guess the question is, too, so if they do decide to come together and give you this big stimulus check this time, will they raise taxes later on the end to get the money back?
Well, it's tax dollars anyway. That's the crazy part that nobody really seems to be focusing on. It's the federal tax dollars we all pay. So it's just our money. They're acting like it's a trade-off. It's not. It's something we've already worked for.
Yeah, we've already paid for it. So, and then, but here's what you paid for. You get your money back. Well,
right.
Yeah, we'll see how well that works out. But L. Day Riverside comments, he said, I'd say about $1,500 per adult, $1,000 per kid. Now, that's definitely an increase over the last check. But again, the feds can't even agree on giving you $1,200. Asking for $1,500 even more, I don't see that one happening at all.
Yeah, it's not realistically going to happen. But it's not a bad answer for probably most communities.
But Rocket Guitar, he comments, he says it's not how much, it's who should receive it. Not people like you or me owning unemployed and low-income people, and those with assets less than $100,000, including 401ks. This country's on the brinks of insolvency, and if we continue to print money indiscriminately, all our precious social net programs will be destroyed, and the Republicans would love for that to happen. Vote Democratic. Well, I guess the question is, will this check sway the way that you vote? Some people it will, some people are like, no.
I think it's definitely not going to. People are already going to, because people claim that it came from somewhere it didn't come from. It's like, oh, thank you very much. Or, oh, thank you very much. It's like people are going to assign that no matter whether it's true or not. That's not going to sway any votes.
It's a difficult subject because it's almost like there's no right or wrong answer on this one. It's just your opinion, which is fine. It's an opinion show, and none of us are politicians here, which is something I'll never want to do in life anyhow, because right now that's like a no-win situation. But final comment goes to Starman. He said, I'd like my several millions back in taxes I've paid over the years that the government has wasted. Well, we can all agree the government does waste money on certain things, but just like we said earlier, this is your money back.
Right. At the very least, like it does in other economic power countries, like they take care of the people with it. Like it's understood that we're paying it and you are using it for social programs that everybody uses. It's well understood. Just not here.
I almost wonder if we go back to the days of the Depression in the 30s, where we take all this money, we put people back to work by, building bridges or building, the Empire State Building, where now all that stuff, for example, New Jersey's roads, they had to jack up taxes because the roads and bridges are falling apart, which nobody knows where the hell that money's going to. But what if we did take on some bigger projects like that, build a couple new train tunnels somewhere that A, puts people back to work, B, puts plants back to work in America that buys the stone, the rail, the iron, the steel for that. But right now, I don't hear us doing anything about that. In fact, the thing I hear is we just keep canceling more of those projects.
Right, yeah, we're going in the opposite direction of that. But that's not really on subject. I mean, that's a good point, and that down the road that would help out. But, along the lines.
I brought up the point because back in the Depression era, the government didn't hand out free checks to people. They put the money into other projects to make it work. So I'm just questioning that because that doesn't seem to be happening here, but maybe we're broke.
There's no way.
Yeah, but again, it's not up to you and I to solve that question. It's just bar talk here in the Brew like we do each every week, and you want more, click that like and subscribe button down below. That's a solid bet right there for all the fun here in the Big Jersey Open YouTube channel. 4 big shows coming at you every week, and the best part of that is they're free. Well, I guess you have to pay for internet access, but hey, that's on you. But use that stimulus check that way. And a big election coming up too, so I guess the final answer that I'm going to say in this, Joel, whether you agree with me or not, is the best way to exercise your right, get out and vote. Right? I mean, that's all we can all do as citizens.
It's the absolute very least you can do. Don't be lazy. Get out there. Don't be a clown. This is our future.
And speaking of lazy, some states let you mail it in, for crying out loud. You don't even have to leave your home. So we can all get out there and do that. Do your civic duty. A lot of people died for that. All right. Speech over. Josie Joe here, Eye in the Box, saying thanks for watching. Thanks for joining us for another edition of the Bar Talk here in the Brew. And we'll see you next time, I hope.